After years of delays, drama, and debates, Governor Gavin Newsom just made a major announcement about the California high-speed rail project. Whether you've been following this since day one, or just wondering if you'll ever ride a train from LA to San Francisco in under 3 hours, this update matters. So, what did the governor say? And does it bring us closer to seeing this high-speed dream become reality or further away? Let's dive into it on today's episode of Great Trainspeed. California's high-speed rail project, designed to connect San Francisco and Los Angeles in under 3 hours, has long been seen as a transformative step for U.S. transportation. But during its development, one major obstacle came from the federal level: former President Donald Trump. Trump's first term marked a period of intense friction between the federal government and California's rail ambitions. In May 2019, his administration moved to revoke nearly $1 billion in federal grant funding, money the state had been counting on to advance construction through the Central Valley. The decision wasn't just a financial hit, it signaled a broader federal effort to disengage from the project entirely. Soon after, the administration escalated matters further by demanding the return of approximately $2.5 billion already allocated to California. Officials labeled the funds as wasted, citing concerns over cost overruns and missed deadlines. The most direct blow came when the U.S. Department of Transportation formally terminated a $929 million grant agreement with the California High-Speed Rail Authority. Throughout his presidency, Trump repeatedly criticized the project in public, referring to it as a boondoggle and an example of what he viewed as inefficient government spending. His administration portrayed California's high-speed rail as poorly managed and fiscally irresponsible, arguing that taxpayer money would be better spent elsewhere, and their vision seems right since nearly 2 decades later that vision remains largely unfulfilled. What began as a $33 billion proposal has since grown into a $133 billion undertaking, and on the ground, the most visible progress is a 171-mile stretch of track under construction in the Central Valley. No trains are running, no completed stations, and no rolling stock on site. Then, in July 2025, the project encountered perhaps its most critical challenge to date. The Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, released a 310-page report declaring that the California High-Speed Rail Authority is in default of its federal grant agreements. The implications are severe. Without swift corrective action, the federal government could withdraw up to $4 billion in funding, placing the project's future in serious jeopardy. According to the FRA, the authority lacks a reliable construction schedule, continues to struggle with cost control, and has yet to define a clear path for completing the Central Valley segment by its target of 2033. The report highlighted persistent issues, including delays in land acquisition, weak coordination between contractors and agencies, and systemic management problems that have yet to be resolved. But beyond the governor's move, how is the rail authority responding, and what are they doing right now to move things forward? We'll dive into all of that in the next section. But before we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates from the world of trains right here on our channel. After receiving sharp criticism from the Federal Railroad Administration, the California High-Speed Rail Authority isn't taking it lightly. In a detailed 14-page response, CEO Ian Choudhury described the FRA's report as unfair and misleading. He argued that the agency distorted key data, ignored findings from recent independent audits, and failed to clearly explain how it reached its conclusions. Choudhury also pointed out that just months earlier, in October 2024, the FRA had released a report that raised no significant concerns, making this sudden shift all the more surprising. On the ground, progress continues. As of June 2025, construction in the Central Valley has delivered 55 major structures, including the San Joaquin River Viaduct and the Hanford Viaduct, 2 key elements of the corridor. Track installation along the 119-mile initial segment is expected to begin later this year. The project's impact goes beyond concrete and steel. It has generated over 15,300 jobs so far, most of them for local workers. On any given day, around 1,700 people are active on site. And with the full San Francisco to Los Angeles route now cleared through environmental review, future segments are ready to move forward once funding is secured. Despite delays from lawsuits and eminent domain battles, state leadership remains committed. In January, Governor Gavin Newsom stated that no state in America is closer to launching high-speed rail than California. For now, the work continues, structure by structure, mile by mile. To reinforce California's commitment to high-speed rail, Governor Gavin Newsom signed Assembly Bill 377 into law on July 31st. The legislation, authored by Central Valley Assembly member David Tangipa, requires the California High-Speed Rail Authority to provide a legally binding funding plan as part of its 2026 business update. The plan must include updated cost estimates, risk assessments, and specific service options for the Merced to Bakersfield segment, the only portion currently under construction. The bill goes a step further than previous requirements. It demands a full accounting of how the state intends to fund the project, what the final price tag will be, and how it plans to manage financial risks moving forward. This project is now 400% over its original cost estimate, Tangipa said. If this were the private sector, people would be fired and likely blacklisted from future work. But somehow, this is still tolerated in government. The bill also introduces legal safeguards. If the authority fails to meet the terms of the plan, the state could halt the project entirely. The bill arrives as physical work continues in the Central Valley. Currently, 119 miles of the high-speed line are under active development, with civil construction slated to finish by December 2026. Track laying will follow soon after. Still, progress hasn't come without friction. California has been forced to pay contractors millions in delay penalties, at times as much as $5 million per month. At the same time, the authority remains locked in a legal battle with the federal government over $4 billion in grant funding originally awarded during the Obama administration and later challenged under President Trump. Governor Newsom's budget proposal includes $1 billion annually over the next 2 decades to complete the initial operating segment, but long-term funding remains uncertain. The project currently draws from California's cap-and-trade program, which contributes 25% of its revenue. While there is now a proposal to extend that program through 2045, it is currently set to expire in 2030, leaving the future of rail financing an open question. Another clear sign of growing support from local and state leaders is the opening of the Tulare Street Underpass. This project isn't just another piece of road work, it's part of the ongoing transformation of the high-speed rail system in the region. The project that's been in the works since 2017, local and state leaders, along with the California High-Speed Rail Authority, came together to celebrate what's been a long time coming. The new underpass runs between G and H streets, right near Fresno's Chinatown, and it drops more than 20 feet below the Union Pacific tracks and the future high-speed rail line. The underpass stretches over 1,000 feet long and is about 60 feet wide. It's not just for cars either. There are sidewalks and bike lanes too, making it safer and easier for everyone to get around. The road to completing this project took quite a bit longer than expected, about 4 times longer. This is part of the larger high-speed rail effort that's already made a big impact on the Central Valley. As of August 1st, 2025, over 15,000 construction jobs have been created, with 5,000 of those right in Fresno County. We've invested $13 billion here in California, said Board Chair Tom Chavez. And most of those jobs are happening right here in the Central Valley. The new underpass also brings a fresh wave of energy to Fresno's Chinatown, where over 65 businesses are open and looking forward to more foot traffic. With better access and a safer street setup, the area is poised to grow even stronger. So, what do rail fans think about this bill? Do you believe it will help keep the high-speed rail project on track in the future? Drop a 1 if you support the bill, or a 0 if you think it's unnecessary. Let's hear your take. Let's be real. Californians have been waiting forever for this bullet train, and folks have a lot to say about it. Some are just straight up fed up. One person joked that the only high-speed rail the U.S. managed to build is in Florida. Others called the California line pathetic, pointing out that the planned route between LA and San Francisco is so long and roundabout, flying will still be faster and cheaper. Ouch. A lot of frustration comes down to how the project was handled from the start. It should have been CEQA exempt, one person said, blaming all the environmental reviews for dragging the whole thing out. We spent years just studying whether it's good for the environment. Of course it is. But it's not all doom and gloom. Some people are still holding on to hope. We've come this far, someone wrote. Let's just finish it, one section at a time. Others are calling it a national priority, something that must get done no matter what. Few folks even reminded us that California is not the only place with these problems. One person brought up Germany's Stuttgart 21, a rail project that's been in the works since the 90s and still isn't done. Delays and cost overruns happen everywhere, they said. But once these projects are finished, they're amazing. And we use them for generations. All right, that wraps it up for today. Hope you had a good time cruising with us. Catch you next time.